الله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وقال الذين لا يرجون لقاءنا لولا أنزل علينا الملائكة أو نرى ربنا لقد استكبروا في أنفسهم وعتوا عتوا كبيرا. يوم يرون الملائكة لا بشرى يومئذ للمجرمين ويقولون حجرا محجورا. وقدمنا إلى ما عملوا من عمل فجعلناه هباء منثورا. أصحاب الجنة يومئذ خير مستقرا وأحسن مقيلا. ويوم تشقق السماء بالغمام ونزل الملائكة تنزيلا. الملك يومئذ الحق للرحمن وكان يوما على الكافرين عسيرا. ويوم يعض الظالم على يديه يقول يا ليتني اتخذت مع الرسول سبيلا. يا ويلتى ليتني لم أتخذ فلانا خليلا. لقد أضلني عن الذكر بعد إذ جاءني وكان الشيطان للإنسان خذولا. وقال الرسول يا رب إن قوم اتخذوا هذا القرآن مهجورا. وكذلك جعلنا لكل نبي عدوا من المجرمين وكفى بربك هاديا ونصيرا. وقال الذين كفروا لولا نزل عليه القرآن جملة واحدة كذلك لنثبت به فؤادك ورتلناه ترتيلا.
صدق الله العظيم. ما شاء الله. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We begin with Allah's blessed name. We praise Him and we glorify Him as He ought to be praised and glorified. And we pray for peace and for blessings on all of His noble messengers, and in particular on the last of them all, the Blessed Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, as we greet you with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, a greeting of peace. And can someone tell me, well, let's ask the sisters first. What day is it today?
Monday.
No, don't tell me Monday. What day is it today with Allah? Nobody? With our system of time, not theirs. What day is it today? Tunisia.
Yeah, I just forgot.
Come on, Tunisia.
Just let me concentrate.
It is the month
ذو الحجة.
of Zulqa'dah.
ذو القعدة. No, ذو الحجة.
No?
ذو القعدة, yeah.
The last month was Shawwal.
Yeah.
This is Zulqa'dah. And what day of Zulqa'dah is it? The fourth day, mashallah. Correct. The fourth day. So while we're waiting for Ilford to arrive, Ilford seems to be late. We'll take up some time in a productive way. It's not often that we have Ken O'Keefe with us. And he is a wealth of information and knowledge. And I am very happy to see that on the last occasion, on the 24th of last month, when we had the session here in this hall, that there was a very warm reception for our brother Ken and an appreciative audience for his scholarship and for his address to you on that occasion. So if you have any questions and you'd like to ask Ken at this time, can someone take the chair away? Yes. Thank you, Hafiz, for that melodious recitation. Yes. This is the time you can ask your questions.
Can I ask please?
Yes.
Chair?
Yeah.
What is a scholarship that our brother Ken has, as you mentioned?
Loud.
What is a scholarship that our brother Ken has?
Was everybody able to hear that? What is the scholarship that I have? That's an excellent question, actually. Fortunately for me,
Sorry, Ken, by the way, it's me, Muhammad. I was supposed to pick you up last time, but I couldn't pick you up because of various issues.
oh, I'm sorry, say again?
I'm Muhammad Amin, who was supposed to come with you last time in the car.
Oh, yes.
Except
Thank
this time, I'll come with the chef.
Muhammad Amin.
So we have met on the phone, but not in person.
Yes, God bless you, brother. And thank you for the question as well. Well, fortunately for me, this word education, like all words, I've encouraged people to look at the definition of words. We assume, first off, my advice is don't assume anything. We assume many things. We assume that education means that you're intelligent, that you would be intelligent. Now, of course, there is genuine education and scholarship, but what I would suggest, and I have evidence to back it up, is that really what we call education is indoctrination, posing as education, and really the process is more about effectively making sure that the intended slave class is socially engineered to good little slaves and does the backflips and hula hoop dances and tap dances on command, and if you do it sufficiently, then you get that piece of paper, and that piece of paper will provide you with the income that will allow you to then make that choice of willful ignorance, and this explains the process of where we are today. Am I the most intelligent man on the planet? God did definitely bless me with a very functioning brain. My father was like a genius himself and was sent to the highest tech school in the Navy in Silicon Valley, which is why I was born there. But my education mostly comes from self-study and from traveling the world, which I encourage everyone to do if you are so blessed. I've learned more by traveling to places and living in places, not just going to Paris for a week and then saying, you don't know Paris, you know the tourist version of it. You need to live there if you really want to try and get an understanding of what it's about. So much of my scholarship is, in fact, comes from that. From travel, from independent study. I could cite many books that I've read that were instrumental in developing my understanding. I did also graduate high school, barely. Barely. You know, I did. I was more interested in surfing and having fun. But I graduated, and then I took a few college classes as well. Anthropology, history, psychology, things that I was interested in. And aside from that, it was literally self-study. And my driving force, ironically, comes from the Marine Corps, because I believed with all my heart that America was the greatest, clearly. As a 19-year-old kid, I knew what all us Americans knew. We're the best. That's not even questionable. In fact, if somebody said we weren't, those are fighting words there. I would have been happy to get into a fight to tell that commie what's not, you know. So I joined the Marine Corps and I became a mercenary for the banksters. Now, did I know that? No, it took me going into the Marine Corps and being a mercenary for the banksters to realize, wait, this isn't what I thought it was. And when I realized the magnitude of my own stupidity, it motivated me massively to learn the truth. So I studied voraciously. My 20s were just all about study, and virtually everything I learned in that process was the opposite of what we're educated to believe. Even now, I'm wearing a necklace that has this symbol that is recognized as a symbol of hate. It's not. It's the opposite of hate. And ironically, Christians will wear that crucifix, which, is that really the way we want to remember Jesus? Like, really? I mean, he was a beautiful man. You know, why are we constantly putting him on this crucifix? So what I learned was to challenge what we've been taught. And I would say that the extent of my scholarship is largely based on that. But then we have a teacher like the Sheikh here. I'm honored and blessed to be on the same stage with this beautiful man who is a plethora of wisdom, integrity. I learn every time. So I also had enough wisdom, even in my youth, when we always think we know everything and our parents are wrong and everybody's wrong, to listen, not just wait until I can chime in with my point, but genuinely listen. It's another art we've lost, you know, especially with cell phones. Right? Even now, you have young people going out on dates, and they're like on a date, and you're trying to impress this girl, and meanwhile you're flipping between her and the phone. What is this? You know, what is that? And if we are listening, we're just waiting so we can chime in. You're not going to learn that way. So, and let us not forget, say for instance in Gaza right now, you know, how many people realize that the Palestinians covet education? They value it far more than most. And I mean, really, we can go to those cultures where you see the highest emphasis on education. And I'll put the Palestinians up against them any day, but they're denied. We all know all their schools have been bombed, all their hospitals have been bombed. I know there were programs that I was trying to help make a reality with these incredibly wise, intelligent, young people in Palestine, in Gaza, and the West Bank who have scholarships outside, even in Ivy League colleges and what, but they can't get out. So they're being denied education. And even the indoctrination, I tell my own kids this. I know so much of what they're being taught. It's not true. It's fake history. And what I say to them is, okay, you know, first off, don't assume anything. Don't be so bold that you think you know it all. And don't just reject out of hand what you're being told. Much of what you're being told has value, but much of it is not. It's more to implant and then to reward you for a wrong answer. Again, how many of you, I'm just curious, when you went to school and you were studying a subject and you knew for a fact, not just in your bold, arrogant youth, oh, I know. No, you really did know. You knew for a fact that if you had a multiple choice question, and you know, so you've got A, B, C, D, and you know that the answer you're supposed to give is A, for instance, right? But actually, technically, it's not correct. C is the correct one. So what do? Do you go ahead and get the question wrong by answering the one that you know is true? Or do you go ahead and answer it the way they want you to answer it so you can get the higher test score? Really, has anybody experienced that in school? Yes? Yeah, I found that really interesting. Like, am I like smarter than the teachers? Why am I the one? Why am I getting in trouble for being the one pointing out? Why are they not rewarding the student? And every teacher knows this. the teacher will learn more from the students than the students actually learn from the teacher. There is so much, and I'm sure that the Sheikh will validate this on a multitude of levels. We learn from our students. We do. So it's a two-way street. And by the way, the kids know too much. They know everything that they need to know, and then we educate it out of them. So my scholarship is the University of Life, to put it in short.
Okay. I will speak for half an hour, Ken will speak for half an hour, and then we have a little time before Maghrib for question and answers. And I will concentrate on this part of the subject, the implications for the world of Islam, of what is unfolding in Gaza. And Ken will look at the subject from the perspective of world politics, as well as giving you an up-to-date description of where we are now in Gaza. In half an hour, all I can do is to whet your appetite. Last night, Muhammad Amin arranged for me to lecture at the Muslim Unity Center in North Wembley. Someone drove 7 hours from Frankfurt to come to attend the lecture. I was impressed. And I had to speak on the Quran and the Holy Land. And what I did was to give them about 10% of the subject in order to whet their appetite. Because we live in a world in which so many people are content to eat the biryani, or in Morocco the couscous, and go home and sleep. And we are the people who have lost the thirst for knowledge, the restlessness in the heart to acquire knowledge. And so when I take up this subject tonight, that's all I'm going to do, to whet your appetite, to think. And when you think and you use the Book of Allah, absolute truth in the Book of Allah, you have a solid foundation on which to think. When I turn to the Book of Allah to find out why is the world of Islam so incapacitated to respond to what is happening in Gaza, while millions of Muslim men, young men, are willing to march, willing to fight, will give their lives without any hesitation in a struggle to liberate the oppressed in Gaza. How come that nothing from the world of Islam is coming out to stop Israel? Iran fired about 300 missiles and drones and hypersonic missiles against Israel. But Iran did not do that in response to oppression in Gaza. That was not the primary reason. Iran did that because Iran felt that its honor was at stake and it had to respond to Israel's attack on the Iranian diplomatic mission or consular mission in Damascus, where several high-ranking military officers were assassinated. And if Iran had not responded, the people of Iran would have risen against their own government. So why is it that the whole world of Islam, including Iran, have not so far responded to resist Israel? What explains the shackles on their hands and feet? What is it that explains the shackles on their hands and feet? And if we are to answer that question, then we have to go to the Quran. A glimpse, that's all you can get tonight, a glimpse of what the Quran offers as an explanation is the origins of modern Western civilization that even they in the West are not aware of. A civilization which appeared on the stage of the world, suddenly, mysteriously, never having ever appeared on the stage of the world before. And when it appeared on the stage of the world very quickly, it took control of every single existing civilization in the world and subdued the rest of mankind, all of mankind, so that it became the rulers of the world. Did that not happen? Yes, it happened. And after they had taken control of power in the whole world, and they were using power to oppress, and they were a people who were decadent, they didn't show any morality, any ethics of warfare. They will tell a mountain of lies and yet dress up and go to church on a Sunday morning and present themselves as the most civilized people on the face of the earth. And this is the best civilization it has ever been the good fortune of mankind to experience. And there is nothing better than this to come. This is the end of history. And all of mankind are now going to be civilized by this new civilization. We will teach you how to dress, and we will teach you how to eat and all the rest. And they gave us a new political system and with a new political philosophy. And we don't have the time to study that subject, so we accept it. And all of us, without any exception, dutifully, like sheep and cattle and goats and camels, will go and vote in the elections. Let me repeat that. Like sheep and cattle and goats and camels with nothing in your head except peanuts, to go and vote in the elections. That's Pakistan from day one. From day one. And elections, my gosh, that is the most important time in the life of a country. The whole country is in a frenzy. It's so funny. They also brought a new economic philosophy, the new economic system. And they gave us a new market. It's no longer a free and a fair market. They gave us a new monetary system. They take away real money from the market and they replace it with fake money. And we all accept the fake money. Even the Mufti. It's so funny. And they take control of us, all our peoples, even after they decolonize. They still rule us by proxy. Even after they decolonize, they still rule us by proxy. So we think we are free, but we are not. We don't have freedom. And it is that lack of freedom which explains the incapacity of the world of Islam to respond to what is happening in Gaza. And whenever one of us emerges as a leader and seeks to win freedom for our people, meaning freedom from their shackles. He's either killed or put in prison. Am I wrong or am I right? So who are those who control the world and who control power in modern Western civilization? If we can answer that question, and if we can answer how to deal with such people, we can clear a path for freedom tomorrow. Freedom in Gaza, freedom in the Holy Land, freedom in Pakistan, and freedom in the world of Islam. And I want to say to you, with sadness in my heart, because I have lived a long time now, and I've seen the world, and I've met with so many, that we're not going to move forward unless we can produce a new generation of scholars. It's our sisters. They have to give birth to a new generation of young people who would acquire knowledge a different way from what which now prevails. And when that new generation of scholars come, I might be in my grave, but I will smile. I will smile in my grave, because we are planting the seeds now for that new generation of scholars. So they closed the doors of the masjid on us. All around. Last night was an exception. And as a result, it's people like Imran Khan who have to go and find the funds and pay to rent a hall where we can teach and lecture. And when we do so, we take you to the Quran. And when we go to the Quran to locate the cause for this slavery, we are enslaved today, we are not free. Where did this civilization come from which has enslaved us and caused us to become so incapacitated? Not all, most of all the Arabs. The greatest attack of all is not in Uzbekistan. The greatest attack of all is on the Arabs. And when we go to Prophet Muhammad, Allah's blessing be upon him, we find him asleep. And he sees something in his sleep. And what he sees in his sleep is so terrible. It causes his face to be flushed red. And he wakes up from his sleep having seen this vision. And these are his words, which explain Gaza today. Wailul lil Arab. Woe unto the Arabs. Woe unto the Arabs. Min sharrin qad iktaraba. Because of a great evil which is now approaching. And then he raised his hands like this and made a circle. And he said, today a hole had been made in the barrier which had been built by Zulkarnain. And that takes us to Surah Al-Kahf of the Quran and to Gog and Magog. The Zulkarnain has built a barrier, and as a consequence, Gog and Magog, who are human beings and who have power which cannot be destroyed, and who use that power to oppress and to corrupt and to destroy. The barrier has blocked them, contained. They have been, to use the language of chess, they have been checkmated by Zulkarnain. And when he built that barrier, he said, "This is rahmah from my Rabb, my Lord God. But on that day when he has warmed, what will happen? He's going to bring down this barrier, and that day the warning will be fulfilled." So when our Prophet had the vision, that vision told him that today Allah has commenced bringing down that barrier. Did you hear me? When our Prophet had that vision, Allah's blessing be upon him, it communicated to him the news that on this day Allah has commenced to bring down that barrier. And as a consequence, Gog and Magog will now be released. It will take some time after the release of Gog and Magog for something else to happen, which is mentioned not in Surah Al-Kahf, but in Surah Al-Anbiya of the Quran. That's why I've been advising Ken, study the Quran. Study the Quran, Ken. That Allah speaks of a town and we know it's Jerusalem. And He destroyed Jerusalem. And He expelled the people, the Israelite people. And then He placed a ban on them that they could never return to this town to reclaim it as their own after being expelled. For 2,000 years they could not come back. Until not only are Gog and Magog released into the world, but they also spread out in all directions, which is an event. I say it so many times. When will it register in your rational consciousness? I've said it so many times. That this is an event which will occur only once in history. That these people, with this profile, will spread out all over the world and take control of power in the world with a mountain of lies and a river of blood. And when they take control of power in the world, they're going to bring the Jews back to the Holy Land to reclaim it as their own. So Gog and Magog are at the heart of modern Western civilization. And we can actually spot the moment after they were released from the barrier, when the beginnings of modern Western civilization emerged. And this is in Surah Al-Araf, but my time is coming to an end, and I wanted to only whet your appetite for knowledge. That's all I wanted to do today. Allah speaks in Surah Al-Araf about a Christian people living in a town that they were able to conquer without fighting, and it's Constantinople. I have a book at the back entitled Constantinople in the Quran. Perhaps for the first time in history, anyone has written on this topic. Constantinople in the Quran. And the Christian people are tested by Allah, and some of them pass the test, and others fail. Because the law which has come down, the law of the Sabbath, is that on the Sabbath day you are prohibited from what? You can rest and you can pray, but you cannot work. which means that you cannot fish. And this is a town that lives by fishing. And every day of the week, Allah prevented the fish from coming. But on the Sabbath day, all the fish are there, they are jumping and you could see them. What a test. But Dajjal is at work amongst them. And some of them remain faithful to the law, as some of us will remain faithful to Allah and His Prophet when we have to pray in the masjid. And our Prophet said, stand shoulder to shoulder. Don't be annoyed with me. I have a job to do, let me do it. He said, stand shoulder to shoulder. Don't leave any space between you. And this is not only applicable to the brother, it's also applicable to the sister, because in the Islam that came from Allah and His Messenger, that Islam, the women prayed at the back and the men at the front. Today, of course, the women are prohibited from the masjid, and they'll answer for that. They will answer for that. So do not leave any space in between you. Because if you leave any space, Shaitan will take it. And those who are faithful to the truth. When the British government said, no, you cannot pray like that. The British government said you must stand 3 feet apart. They said, no, we will not betray the truth. We will remain faithful to the truth. We will not obey that. There were Christians like that in Constantinople, and they remained faithful to the truth. But there were others who betrayed the truth and they went fishing. Like others who betrayed the truth and they stood up 3 feet apart, excuse my language, like monkeys. And Allah cursed them for violating the Sabbath. And He said, Kunu kiradatan khasi'in. You are now condemned to live like apes, despised. A monkey is naked. Monkey don't wear clothes. But that's his fitrah. There's nothing shameful about that. But these people are going to eventually show a preference for public nakedness. That's the curse. Monkeys do their bedroom life in public, but there's nothing shameful about that. That's their fitrah. But these people will eventually show a preference for their bedroom life to be in public. That's the curse of Allah. So if they can be cursed for abandoning the law, what is our state when we abandon the law? It is after part of Constantinople broke away and went to Rome and created Western Christianity, and then began the Crusades for Jerusalem. Then we see the beginnings of modern Western civilization. And then we see Gog and Magog spreading all over the world. I am testing you how much appetite you have for knowledge in order to understand what should be the response of the world of Islam to the events unfolding in Gaza. When will we be free? Meaning, when will we be free from the control of modern Western civilization? That's the question. Our Prophet said, and I'm going to end now because Ken has to speak. Our Prophet said, Allah's blessing be upon him, that a Muslim army will march from Khorasan to Jerusalem, and no one will be able to stop that army. Unstoppable! And that army will liberate Jerusalem. On that day, this bogus state of Israel will disappear. If that army is to march from Khorasan, then I want to point out to you there are three countries that are pivotally important for the army to march from Khorasan. They are Iran, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. The Islamic republics on the north of Afghanistan are not that important. Yes, they are a part of Khorasan. These three countries must be free for the army to march. Is Iran free? Yes.
Oh, yes.
After a million Iranians were killed, became shuhada, they gave their lives, but they broke the back of the modern Western grip on Iran. So Iran is a free country today. Is Afghanistan free? I was lecturing in Islamabad on the very day that the puppet Iran-Afghanistan government was fleeing to, I don't know, Qatar or somewhere. Lock, stock and barrel. And everything that the West had done in Afghanistan crumbled on that day. Afghanistan is free. So what about Pakistan? From the day that Pakistan was born to this day, Pakistan has never been free. Tell that to the Yankee puppy dogs who are generals in the Pakistan Armed Forces. When I speak like this, the implication is I can't visit Pakistan anymore. Yes, I can't visit Pakistan anymore. They'll do a khashoggi on me. So I have to stay outside of Pakistan to point out, if you want to free Pakistan from the grip, the shackles of the modern West, so that Pakistan can join with Afghanistan and Iran for the army to march to liberate Gaza and liberate Jerusalem, then you have to break the power of the Pakistan Armed Forces, not the ordinary soldiers who have their hearts in the right place, but the generals who I call Yankee puppy dogs. How will Pakistan be able to do that? I suggested last night, you have to launch a struggle of peaceful resistance against oppression. And the most important oppression that you're going to be resisting is not political oppression, but economic oppression. And in economic oppression, your priority is monetary oppression. Because you want to bring back real money in the market. And when real money comes into the market, fake money will collapse. And dinar and dirham is real money. This is the way forward. And I've spoken enough just to whet your appetite on the subject of the response of the Muslim world to the genocide in Gaza. And now we turn to Ken, who will speak to you on the world politics and how we respond to events holding in Gaza and what is the state of Gaza today. Thank you.
I love listening to you. I really do. Reading the Quran, you know, I know there's wisdom there if anybody said it, but with you saying it, that for me becomes divine, and I will make that concerted effort to heighten my knowledge and understanding. Thank you. Money. I like we've ended that with, wow, I mean, money in the financial system being the key to the one remaining of the three nations required to march this army. And boy, that just hits the nail on the head for me, geopolitically. I mean, I can use some truths that are easily verifiable, but they would be qualified as, quote, anti-Semitic if you say them. Like the symbol on this mother's cross on my neck. This is the Orwellian 1984 world we live in, but 0.2% of the human population has such an extraordinarily disproportionate amount of control, but you're not allowed to say that, are you? I mean, let's look at this disproportionate amount of control. Now, there is more than one element to this grip on power they have, but there is one thing above all others, if you ask me, and I think it's very much in line with what Jesus taught, where he got upset, and what Islam teaches, and yet we all violate this. Usury. Usury. This is haram. In my opinion, that is the worst crime of all. Now, who is exercising this criminal activity more than anybody else? And is this group, according to their own ideologies, allowed to practice usury against their own tribe? It's not a religion. It's a bloodline thing. How many atheist Jews do we have? I'm sorry. Is there any atheist Muslims in the audience? Any atheist Christians out there? No, but we got Netanyahu and others who call themselves Jews, and they're invoking God, yet they don't even believe in God. How convenient is that? You would need a whole lot of money to get a whole lot of prostitutes posing as journalists to be able to tout this lie and repeat the lie over and over to get a bunch of people, and I love the way the Sheikh refers to it. If I was speaking to a Western secular audience, I could use words that I ain't using here for these people. You would need something to be able to overshadow truth and critical thinking. And basically, it's just as simple as repeating a lie over and over and over and over and over and over again. And then again, some basic core things like you can call yourself a Muslim, but I'm sorry. By the way, I'm the guy without any credit. I have no credit. I don't know what my credit score would be, but it would be basically in the tank. I don't like it. I ain't playing that game, but I also have no debt, by the way. I don't know how many of you can say that, but I have no debt. I have no car payment. I have none of that. So in many ways, I'm richer financially than those of you who are driving beautiful cars and have nice houses with mortgages. And I pass no judgment. I'm simply saying this game of usury is the game that's being used. And as the Sheikh said, and I definitely in my own way want to emphasize that, there are ways for us to institute sound financial policy. And I'm going to give you just a little bit of that because it actually, and I'm getting into Gaza. This is a good foundation to lay down before we get into Gaza because it explains so much. Which, by the way, the Palestinians are using shekels, not Palestinian money. No. Why would you use the money of your oppressor, earning them interest in money for your own oppression? I look forward to the Palestinians who put that forward, kind of like Kennedy did for my country. You guys remember what happened to Kennedy? Yeah, what happened to him. And everyone else who crossed that system. Here's where I venture into the anti-Semite thing, which really got me kind of shutting up about Gaza because it was angering me, to be honest. Hearing these comparisons between the way the Israelis are acting in Gaza and comparing them to quote-unquote Nazis. I know for a fact, regardless of how wise any of you may be, just by even mentioning that word, that you will have an implanted, anchored memory that says bad, Nazi, bad. Kind of like terrorist, Palestinian, same thing. That's been implanted, mind-controlled into you, so that the moment you even say that word, Nazi, 6 million gas chambers, enough said. No conversation required. That's it. Well, funny enough, that Nazi guy, which is a derogatory term made by the tribe, which effectively means imbecile, that's not National Socialism. Anybody who would study National Socialism for real would realize, wow, we have never in the history of our world seen the economic miracle that occurred in Germany for those blessed years between 1933, when Judea declared war on Germany, and when World War II started, where communism, absence of God. So let's be clear. Communism, Joseph Stalin, murderer of 40 million, became best buddies with America and Britain. this unholy trinity, this true axis of evil. So the guy who murdered 40 million, we're not talking 6 million, never mind the truth of that. 40 million, indisputably, communism. You would all be dead. If communism comes here, they're going to kill you, especially the Sheikh. Oh my God. They not only kill this blessed man, but probably torture him just to make a point publicly, like sort of Gaddafi style. So we, a Christian nation of America, or at least presenting itself as a Christian nation, combined with the British nation, which again, at least presented itself as somewhat Christian, combined with communism, which is created by the tribe, which is an absence of God, i.e. you will be dead. In fact, they killed all the religious leaders. They destroyed all the mosques, they destroyed all the churches, and they left the synagogue standing. Am I getting anti-Semitic yet? Yeah. Why don't they invite me back on BBC or Russia Today or any of them? Because I'm going to continue to say these things, because for me, serving God and truth, same thing. No demarcation there. I'll say his name, Adolf Hitler. These are facts about this man. He outlawed usury. Outlawed it. Gone. He outlawed Freemasonry and secret societies. He did. He arrested a Rothschild. No head of state has done that. None. He protected animals with the strongest laws to protect animals. To this day, stronger than any other country. And he was a vegetarian, by the way. So am I. Why? Because I don't want to pay someone else to go harm and torture and mutilate another creature. Because I don't need it. Now, if I need it, I will kill that animal. Gut it, skin it, quarter it, butcher it, use every last bit of it, give thanks, and I will feel no qualms with that. But this factory line of death that we have, I'll tell you, if you took your kids to a slaughterhouse, I guarantee you the vast majority of them will become vegetarian the next day. Guaranteed. So this man, this vicious, horrible man who believed in so-called master race, who wanted to take over the damn world, that was us. We're the ones that took over the damn world. Us. Communism and so-called Christianity. How is that possible? You know the common link between these things? Well, Franklin Delano Roosevelt was married to a Jewish woman, and anybody who studies history will know that it was Jewish advisors behind him. And it was Jews who promised to get America into that war. Fact. Communism? Come on. They made it. And their man, their Joe Stalin guy, they put him there. And no God, no private property, and the first law was anti-Semitism, punishable by death. So here we go, we got Franklin Delano, and then we got Churchill, a drunkard, an absolute drunkard. The greatest Briton, they call him. Oh my God. How far has your society gone into the tank when you were greatest? It's kind of like looking at Donald Trump, make America. Are you kidding me? You buying this line? Somehow your suspension of intelligence has occurred. Something has occurred. Now, Gaza. I was seeing these comparisons and it really just, I had to just shut up. I couldn't do it. I found myself making this argument all the time. Like, why am I sitting here trying to teach people actual history? Because I'm needing to correct this lie, because it's called bearing false witness. I've had false witness beared against me by the tribe. What do? They sling mud. Sling mud. They don't actually debate you on facts. They sling mud because mud sticks, and they have the power to do it. Gaza. The reason why I talk about these things, Palestine. If we continue to embrace such an important lie, or we continue not to call out this lie, we are doing the Palestinians no favors at all. None. If you want to understand what the Palestinians are facing in Gaza today, then you need to study Bolshevism. It is Bolsheviks and their descendants who were carrying out these horrendous crimes. Does anybody in here question or doubt that women are being raped in Gaza now? Children being raped. People being mutilated. People being executed, bound, tied behind their back, executed, buried alive, entire buildings with people sheltering, men, women, and children being leveled to the ground. Rescue workers coming to go and try and rescue those buried under the rubble, being shot at. Food being brought in like bait for a fish. And in the moment all the starving people come to get the food, they're being bombed. Now, what kind of mentality would allow for this? You have to be demonic. You have to be absolutely inhuman. You must have not even an ounce of humanity in you if you are capable of, well, that explains what we're dealing with. There is zero humanity. Worse yet, they have a deity. They do. Oh yes, they do. We may use a different term as Christians, but it's the same thing. For us, Satan. Satan. And the fact that we can't get into the mind of a psychopath, sociopath, narcissistic, sadistic, you need to comprehend this. Sun Tzu, The Art of War, you could read that book in a day. I highly recommend it. Get into the mind of your enemy. You must understand the mind of your enemy. They worship the antithesis of God. When a child, Epstein-esque style, is being raped on videotape by our corrupt leaders, how does Satan feel about that? He loves it. He loves it. So if you ever saw your child walking for the first time and smiling, how did that make you feel? Did that make you feel something special inside? Well, Satan hates that. He'd rather see your baby, instead of walking, blown to bits. This is a wild, crazy mentality. But you need to understand it in order to understand what the Palestinians are facing. God took me to Palestine. I didn't really know much of anything about Palestine when I traveled there 21 years ago, when I traveled to the West Bank. I just knew I needed to go there. I knew, whatever, divine intuition, whatever you want to call it. I knew I needed to go. And I went. And I started in the West Bank, Allenby Bridge through Jordan. And I traveled there. At that point, it's ironic because I had just done the Human Shield action to Iraq. So I was on BBC Hard Talk, CNN, Fox, you name it, I was on all of it. So it's not like they didn't know who I am. Like, you guys know who I am, but for whatever reason, I made it into the West Bank. I lived in the West Bank. I traveled through the West Bank, through the checkpoints, watching the lines for the Palestinians, and then my line as a Westerner, and I watched all the indignities. I was blown away by the humanity within these people. Like, how do you manage to maintain your humanity in the face of such grotesque inhumanity? It inspired me then, it inspires me now, and I've said it over and over. If I was born Palestinian, I don't have that nobility. I would be fighting, boy. You could not pay me to be nonviolent. No way, no way. So I watched this, and then I went to Israel. I actually went in Israel. I did. Even now I find it hard to believe that I was in there, but I did, and I went and I traveled and I met people, and I had the opposite experience. It's kind of like the English and the Irish. The English are known for being mean. You know, in America we call it, selfish, non-giving. Really. The Irish are the opposite. They will give you the shirt off their back. I remember I was sitting outside a pub having a cigarette, doing all those things that you shouldn't do as a Muslim, but nonetheless, I was there, and there was a homeless guy, and I was talking, and there was a proper Irishman there, and the guy who was like Eastern European, he hadn't said he was homeless yet, and the question came up, where are you staying at night? And he started saying how he had no place to go, and immediately the Irishman, we wouldn't be here any of that now, you'll be coming home with me, like literally, just met this man on the street, he's inviting him back to his home. Good luck finding an Englishman who's going to do that for you, I tell you. So it's the same type of thing in Palestine. What I saw in Palestine, and that's why, what did they tell you about Palestine? Don't go to the West Bank, it's dangerous and all that. Not just for Muslims, but for Christians. Oh my God, you're tempting death. They will do. It's the opposite. It's the opposite. If you go there, you will be changed. You will grow. You will develop a bond with these people. That's why they don't want you to go there. They don't want you to see that. So, where are we now with this? There is something beautiful out of all of this horrendousness. Does that kind of sound even shocking to hear? Like, what is beautiful about about what we're seeing? What is beautiful about children? I mean, I think everybody here to some degree has done that. I've been watching. I'm a hard man. I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot. I've been through a lot. I've seen a lot. I've been in war zones as an active participant in combat. I've seen death. I've seen stuff. I'm a hard man. But I have found myself crying more than once, just looking at these children and the parents, and just, I remember watching a video just the other day. It was this young girl. She was probably, I don't know, maybe 8, 9. And, you know, one of tens of thousands at this point, but it was just this one. All it was footage of her. She was clearly in the hospital. She had marks all over her face, clearly from flying debris, shrapnel or whatever. And she was in, you know, those blankets to try and keep you warm, those silver ones that retain the heat. And she's shivering, and she's looking, and she's there, but she's not there. She's alive, but part of her soul is gone, or at least temporarily suspended. God, being so beautiful, he sort of suspends consciousness a bit, kind of takes you into a zombie state for your own self-preservation, because the reality of what you are confronting is so ugly that just even the adrenaline and the heart rate and the stress and the trauma can kill you. I know as a Marine, you know, if we came up on somebody who was injured, it was a 4-step process. Start the breathing, stop the bleeding, protect the wound, treat for shock. If you're not breathing, that's number one. I don't care if you have an open wound. If you're not breathing, don't worry, the heart will stop, the blood will stop too. You need to get that person breathing, first thing. Once you have that established, so the first thing you should be doing is checking that airway. Are they breathing? Are they not? Once you got them breathing, then you have to stop the bleeding. Obviously, if you bleed out, you're going to die. Halal and kosher slaughter, that's the way it works, right? I mean, come on, you're going to bleed out, you're going to die. You got to get that wound covered and stop that bleeding, a tourniquet if necessary. Protect the wound. In Gaza right now, taking it into the current context, do you know how impossible it is to keep a wound protected in this environment? How many children and others are having amputations without anesthetic? Can you imagine not only the flesh being cut, but the bone being sawed through? For a child, this is what they're doing there. And then how do you dress that wound? I remember when I was in Gaza, I have a video up on Twitter or whatever, Israel's latest war crime, I called it. I had a job when I was in Gaza, and my job was to tell the truth. I did not do this for money, by the way. It was all about serving truth in God in my own way. So I lived there and I reported from there. And I had a deal with a taxi driver, and my deal was, as soon as there's a bombing, boom, come pick me up. Pick me up, we're going to wherever it is. So it was one of those nights, and they bombed. And so he came, he picked me up, we got to the site. What was it? When I got there, I asked, what is this site? Medical supplies is what it was. Medical supplies. So this is where I wanted to prove it, you know. They've got water and hoses, and they're trying to clear out some debris with a bulldozer that's burning so they can get that out of there. And I literally go into the building that's on fire, and as I would soon find out, starting to collapse. And I filmed right then and there, medical supplies, literally. So they bomb medical supplies, and this is 14 years ago. Do you know how short they are on these types of things right now? Oh my God. So you can't even treat the wound properly. And then the shock is what I saw in that little girl. Incredible, like shock, like in a zombie state. And all by God's divine design, because this trauma that they are enduring is a trauma that some aren't ever going to recover from unless we all serve God in what I believe we must do, which is healing. Boy, oh boy, is there a massive amount of healing that must take place. And I would argue that the only way the healing that is required to really sustain the humanity within us and bring us together as we need to be brought together is justice. Justice. I don't mean vengeance. Justice. And this is where the law comes in. Even as flawed, what poses as law, it's the color of law. Like mandates. That's not a law. An act of parliament, that's not a law. There is a law here. It's called the Bill of Rights. You have it. Of course, there's a higher law than that, which is God's law. And if your domestic laws counter God's law, then your duty is to violate the so-called laws of the state and honor God first. But we have an absence of God, and we have an ignorance that allows us to be used to submit. And if you submit to anything other than God, and God forbid you submit to the satanic agenda that they put out, how do you think you'll be judged? Regardless of how much you may be liked, or how much money you make, or whatever. I look forward to meeting God. I really do. I don't, I am not afraid of God. I feel love, in fact, from day one. And I know this, there would be more time. I'm not going to get into this whole thing because, and this is the kind of thing that I love having a conversation with the Sheikh about. The reason why I don't fear God is not because I don't, that I think that there is nothing that I've done that isn't going to be punished, and in some ways maybe much more harshly than perhaps I know. I don't know, because I ain't God, and I ain't going to play God. I will never be so delusional as to think that I'm anything other than a man that God created and gave me a lot of amazing tools. Thank you, God. All praise to Allah for any good I've ever done. But I look forward to meeting God, and I think getting back to your story about the fish and how they disappeared the 6 days a week that you're allowed. And then on the seventh day, when you can't, you have to either honor God or you have to honor God and go hungry or not. And I think that's sort of God's sense of humor, but there's a deeper lesson in that. But I think when I get to meet God in the form that God takes, I anticipate, I suppose, that we will have a chuckle, that there will be a laugh. And I look forward to hearing everything that I did wrong and really having an opportunity to grow further, because every day I walk this earth, my intention and my goal is to become better. Every day, to learn, to grow, to be humble. I've got the courage, I've got the strength, I'm taking care of my temple, and I'm so honored that I can sit on this stage and share this space with a man whom I love and respect so dearly. And I think that's probably about as much as I can say, other than my duty to my Palestinian family who I'm in touch with. And I do believe that it was said at the last event, if anybody has any donations or anything for Gaza on this evening, I don't know if anything is set up for that, but you have my word, and I'd love an accounting anyway for this to be counted like what was handed over. This will be sent to Gaza. It's not easy to get money into Gaza. In fact, we're kind of running close to maybe the end because of the way that you receive money in Gaza has pretty much been all moved to Rafah, where they told everybody to go. But now Rafah is being attacked. People are dying. And what little infrastructure remains is now fast disappearing as well amongst the starving population. So all I can say is whatever is given to me, God will judge. If I were to take even one penny from myself, I know God should punish me horrendously if I took even one penny. Every single bit will go to Gaza/Palestine. And if I can't send it safely, then I would retain it and maybe put it into the pool or give it back to the master, whatever would be the appropriate way to do it, so that it can be used effectively. Because God forbid I make a mistake, I send money there and it doesn't get there. That would hurt too much. I'm not willing to do that. So anything and everything you give tonight, I will do my very best to help use that to save at least some lives. And on a personal note, I have a family over there. I don't even really like to say their names because I know they can track people over there. Even me being in contact with them puts them in danger. But I have a family there, and while they love Gaza and Palestine, and they don't really want to leave, I know they've been through such utter hell that they need some healing, and I want to get them out. I want to embrace them again. I want to help them heal, and I want to get the best English education for them so they can learn the language that's most useful and powerful right now to tell their story, to tell their truth. So I can tell you right now, some of the money will be used for that, but not for my own. I want to share it and spread it. And this family that I'm sending money to, they are sharing it and spreading it with not the family, but all of the people around. So it is that desperate. And God bless all of you for coming. Quality, not quantity. And while it would be nice to have an absolutely packed standing room only, I have always applied. I have spoken to an audience of one, I remember. And I had to laugh. This is where humility comes in. Be humble. All right? Quality, not quantity. So, thank you for being the quality that makes such an event potentially powerful and in service to God. Thank you very, very much.
20 minutes.
5 minutes?
20.
20 minutes. Oh, good, fine.
I got it right.
Good timing, yes, all right. We also want to make a collection for Gaza, but we want to do it in such a way that those who do not have anything to give will not feel embarrassed, okay? So, Mohammed, I mean, you tell me how we should do the collection, maybe at the back. You could put something for people to put something inside.
I think maybe Imran has something going.
Imran? Okay. We'll tell you how you could make a donation. And we have someone who donated something called karak tea, karak chai. It's very tasty. It's at the back. And you don't have to pay for that, but you can make a donation. Gaza. Okay? And we have a little time now for question and answers or any comments that you'd like to make. The Israeli offensive on Rafah is now taking place as we speak. The United States is warning Israel, don't do it. Britain is warning Israel, don't do it. The European Union is warning Israel, don't do it. And Israel is disregarding everybody. This is the profile of a state which wants to give us Pax Judaica. A Pax Judaica which will replace Pax Americana. I said this in my book, Jerusalem in the Quran, 20-something years ago. So there is some substance in what is in the Quran that could allow me to give this analysis. So what we're seeing now is the profile of a state that is disregarding world opinion. We don't care two peanuts for the world. We're going to do what we want to do. And yes, Ken, these are a barbarian people, barbarian. But the good news is that in the very heart of the West, the young ones are showing that they have human hearts. in all the universities of the United States, the heart of the modern Western world. Young people are protesting and defying the centers of power in the United States, protesting in favor of Palestine and the Palestinians and against Israel. This is good news, that it is those who control power in modern Western civilization. They are Gog and Magog. So now we have a little time for question and answer. We start with the sisters. None from Tunisia?
I had a question, but you already answered.
Oh, you already answered.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Nobody else, okay. All right, brothers, yes. Muhammad Amin.
I don't think this so-called, it's a question for Ken really.
Yeah.
I don't think this so-called US wants Israel to stop. The UK wants Israel to stop. And so on and so on and so forth. It makes no difference because it's just lip service. Because in the dead of night, they still sell weapons or donate weapons to them. If they really wanted these Zionists to stop, then they would stop sending weapons.
Talk is cheap.
Absolutely.
Actions speak louder than words.
Yeah.
I agree, it's all a show. It's all a show. But this is, okay, I didn't expand really on what the Sheikh just said here. I started with the beauty of this horrendous reality we've witnessed. For those of us who have been in any way aware, truly aware of what's happening in Palestine and have been witnessing, much less living there and seen it firsthand, it's been very painful, extremely painful, because these atrocities have been managed atrocities. Generally, the Israelis keep it to single digits a day, which doesn't really register for the rest of humanity. It registers for the people on the ground, but if you keep the numbers under 10 into single digits, it's no problem, really, especially when you've got a complicit media. You get into double digits, that can get a little more problematic. You get into triple digits, that's starting to, but now we're not even into quadruple digits. We're quintuplet now. We're getting way up there. But it's because we've had all these, quote, low-level atrocities, this collateral damage, for so long that we now reach the point where there is literally an orgy of violence, like literally a celebration of violence for them. And what it's exposing, literally, especially in America. Did you see how America threatened the ICC? Literally, this is like your garden variety mafia don, like, if you know what's good for you. I made him a deal he couldn't refuse. It's literally like this. It's open and brazen, like, you will not be employing any actual law. The color of law is the only thing that we authorize, and if you even think to institute real law, we will basically kill you and your family. This is the level of audacity, chutzpah, as the tribe would call it. It is on open display, and this is creating a situation that is fascinating for me. Now, the media has been able to go along with this charade for so long. And the politicians, I know who they work for, so of course, Israel has a right to defend itself. Do you condemn Hamas? Actually, invite me on, Piers. No, I actually respect them. I would be doing what they are doing. Now, if any one of them has done rape, they will be judged by God. And do I support or endorse that? If it be true, well, they will be judged, and this is wrong, and it defames Islam. But did they do that really? Where's the evidence? I need the evidence. Why would I believe the Jewish state of Israel? Why would anybody with a functioning brain believe them? Why did anybody believe them 5 years ago, 10? Oh my God. But now it is so grotesque that it's creating this tap dance. It's really fun for me to watch the politicians and the pundits do this tap dance. Literally. They're tap dancing around these lies. With the shadow justice minister, remember? Who was asked point blank, is it illegal to cut off water food, electricity, humanitarian aid, is that she literally didn't answer the question. She did a tap dance and then said Israel has a right to defend itself. What? Are you stupid? Are you stupid? Are you going to be the top legal mind if your party comes into power? And did you literally not just answer this question straight? I'm sorry, I know I don't have the scholarship or the degree in law, but I've studied it enough to know, yeah, that would be a violation of many laws, including the Fort Geneva Convention and a various number of treaties that we're all signatories to in the civilized, actually barbaric West. And this tap dance that's occurring now is putting these politicians, now how many of these politicians and pundits were on what we know is called the Lolita Express, the Epstein-esque Mossad operation that is compromised? Unknown, but I know it's much bigger. These are the things that you need to entertain. You need to entertain the guy that you're watching, the Camerons or the Blairs and the Bushes and all of them, that they indeed have been involved in the raping of children, and it's on videotape courtesy of Mossad. I've said it before, I say it again. If I was a psychopath, see, I've gotten into that mind. If I was a psychopath and I was in power and I cared not about humanity or none of that, I just want power, brazen power, unlimited power. I would not let anybody into my club unless I had them on videotape raping a child or sticking the dagger in the sacrificial baby. I wouldn't. Makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, you know, isn't this crazy to even... This is the way the world is functioning. Otherwise, how could they all be so lockstep in line with each other? Like, you're expecting me to believe it's one of two things. Either you are blindly stupid and rewarded with your stupidity, with an important position of public trust, or you're bought and paid for. You're controlled. Somehow, some way, you know that the risk of telling the truth is worse, than carrying out this lie and destroying whatever integrity is attached to your name. This is what we're seeing, and you know why? Because of the sacrifice. This magnificent, unprecedented, modern-day sacrifice of the descendants of Jesus of Nazareth. Once again, the Palestinians teaching the world what it is to be a human being. That is the beauty. God bless my Palestinian family. God bless them. I will die for them, happily. I will never back down. And for all you warriors or burgeoning warriors, you're true soldiers of God, find your place. And if you're a warrior, I'm already ready. I'll march with that army. Please, let's get that army. I'll march with that. I've done my flotillas. Let's do that. We can make that. We can accelerate that. Just as a curiosity, how many of you are of Pakistani origin? So a pretty decent amount, yeah. Okay, well, let's make that army happen.
Yeah, we have another session tomorrow, inshallah, at the same time, 7 o'clock. And we hope Ilford will come in time, so we can start on time. Tomorrow's session is on anti-Semitism and freedom of speech. I will make some introductory comments from the Quran and then hand over the session to Ken. But I hope we'll get some time at the end for me to offer an explanatory comment on the similarity between the Soviet Union and Pakistan, the Pakistan of Muhammad Ali Jinnah, in order to bring some clarity of thought to the role of the Soviet Union in history and the destiny of Pakistan. I think we have how much time left? No?
About 5 minutes.
5 minutes. So you need to go.
Assalamu alaikum. Donations for Palestine can be made cash, PayPal, or bank transfer, just to let you know.
Okay. You need some time to walk to the masjid. My books are at the back, and after Salatul Maghrib or before, you can bring them for autographing. And the chai is at the back. And at the back, I suppose you can make your donations for Gaza. So we look forward to seeing you tomorrow, inshallah. And bring your friends with you tomorrow. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.
And if I may, real quick, for those of you, I'm going to stick around. I always like to meet people and give time. So if you did have anything direct that you wanted to share with me, I'll be here. And part of my mission is to network with good people, because we all have something to offer, and I'll continue to do my part. So anyway, I'll be sticking around until I get a chance to speak to everybody who wants.